There has never been a time in which debt has expanded so fast and in every single category. Wherever you turn, debt is there. Look in any corner, under any rock. You will find debt. Many countries are being crushed by debt, but when you zoom in, you realize it's not just the nation itself, but also the people. The debt spiral will consume nearly everyone in a matter of time. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the issue of debt. Let's begin by looking at the Federal Reserve's own website. I took a handful of charts that I wanted to show you here today, beginning with student loans owned and securitized outstanding. And what you will see is that the US has approximately $1.5 trillion in this instance, student debt. One of the important things to note, like all other debt instruments, they use credit cards, mortgages, and in this case, student debt to be securitized. Now you might think to yourself, I've heard of that before, but what exactly are they talking about? Well, you have all these individuals who have debt. Let's say these are all these individuals here. The financial companies take it all and package it up into one of these derivative products. Okay? They take that and they sell it to an investor. The investor uses it to make a profit. All the while, this is nothing more than an individual's debt. Yet they are able to take it, completely remove it from what it actually is, and that's a loan. You owe money back, and they make it into a financial derivative product. But what happens when individual number one can't pay, individual number two can't pay, and potentially even number three can't pay? Well, you have a very big problem. And that's what's going to happen, not just to the student loans, not just to mortgage-backed securities and asset-backed securities and others I'll get into in a moment. The entire system is a fraud. The derivatives will collapse. You have to understand, we're not talking about individuals who owe money on their credit cards. That's really bad, and so on. I'm talking about the fake financial system that rests on top of everything that we can see, all the debt. It goes much deeper. This happens to be motor vehicles, loans owned and securitized. Now you have to figure, even the car loans are in absurd territories. We're talking over $1 trillion worth of loans. Just in the motor vehicles, over $1 trillion. And yes, while there was some level of deleveraging, it just barely lasted, and we have gone far, far beyond that today. Many people want to buy a new vehicle, and all they need to do is take out a loan. When you have interest rates that are basically at rock bottom for a long period of time, that's going to push up asset prices. That's going to push up debt. That's going to basically keep the system alive. They've done a great job at keeping the system alive, that's for sure. They haven't done anything for the real economy, but they've been able to keep this system, fraudulent system, alive. Now, total consumer credit owned and securitized, and let's just package it all up. I mean, you're talking about consumer credit escalating to heights we've never seen before. There was some very, very, short period of time in which there was financial crisis, a lot of uncertainties, and things were readjusting, but it didn't take long. It came back with a vengeance. Mortgage debt outstanding, all holders. And you can see that we've gone back into the same territory that we were at before. Now think about that for a second. With all of the fraud, with all of the empty homes that were being built throughout this housing crisis, subprime, people buying 5 homes, entire subdivisions being built with no buyers. We're talking about skyscrapers being built. Nobody wanted them. Commercial real estate, malls in places they didn't deserve to be. It was expanding to such a great degree, and everybody was in an agreed fashion that this was too much. And yet, here we are, 10 years later, looking at the same situation. So, when you think about how bad this has become, think about what happened 10 years ago and multiply it. We're talking about orders of magnitude worse than what they were 10 years ago. Federal debt held by foreign and international investors. I think that this is a very big problem because when you see anybody who owes money, the creditor has control. And it may not be direct, it may not be so obvious, but that is the way it goes. We have to watch out where the money is being, let's say, where the money is, where the real money is, not the debt. Household debt to GDP for Canada. I just wanted to throw this in. I get a lot of requests all the time for information on Canada, and you'll see here for yourself what has happened throughout the Great Recession, if you want to call it that. There was a period of time in which a lot of uncertainties again, but it doesn't matter. Give it a period of time and you will see it escalate to new heights. All right, switching gears for a minute here. I just wanted to show you these 3 charts and they're all interconnected. We are looking at these trend lines, okay? Look at the red lines here. In these trend lines, you will see that this recent crash, it broke over that trend line and therefore was overdue for a correction. Guess what? It came back down. It tested the trend line and has come back up. So if it trades within that range, we could see it going to new heights, there is no doubt. But it won't go astronomical as many had predicted it would. It always reverts to the mean. Okay, looking here, you can see what had happened on a different way to look at it. Went way overboard, came back down, and it's finding itself back within that trend line yet again. This year is interesting because it compares all the previous crises that we've seen. Anytime we make it over these points, we have a crisis scenario. And guess what? We are at that level again. Valuation still high, bearishness, volatility still at historically low levels. We are at this most overbought point in time for years. Every time they become overbought, there is a period in which there is a sell-off. And yes, then it becomes oversold. And then it will find order and go back up. But there has to be periods of time in which there is deleveraging that has to occur. If they don't let it occur, we have big problems. So that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. The first book is about the 4 asset classes, how to profit from them, whereas my newer release touches on familiar subjects. I get into earning income. I also talk about reducing your monthly expenses, tax incentives, and so much more. So you can check that out at Amazon. If you go to the links in the description below, you'll see one there to look through my books. Amazon has a look inside feature to flip through the books for yourself, see if you like them. Take care.